Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Well, we made it, 2026. We're barely a week into it, and it feels like we're on the verge of World War III. Hopefully not. But I hope you get everything you want in life. Hope you get that house, that job, that new car. Because that's what this world needs to be about, building each other up. Stop tearing each other down. Be happy for the next person. We all want all the basic shit in life. Be happy, healthy, take care of our family. There's always some asshole out there trying to interfere with that. Or just like any other troll you run into. They're miserable, so they need to tear someone else down. But anyway, let's get back to the show. Oh yeah, and you might be wondering why I'm talking about the Seminole Wars again. Well, you know Alligator Alcatraz? That fucking concentration camp in the Florida Everglades? Well, it's on Seminole land. Ancestral land. And they're fighting the U.S. government. Some shit never changes. By the time the Second Seminole War is fully underway, the United States has already fucked up the most important part of warfare. They think this is about compliance. The Seminole know it's about survival. The army shows up expecting chiefs they can bargain with, villages they can burn, and a clear enemy they can line up and defeat. Instead, they get silence. No formations, no banners, no decisive battles. Just gunfire from trees, shots from across the water, and men dying without ever seeing who killed them. Colonel Dade's unit is not careless. That's the myth. They are disciplined, armed, alert. It doesn't matter. The Seminole wait days for the right moment. They let the men relax. And then, they kill the officer first. Once command is gone, everything fucking collapses. This isn't rage. It's planning. The column is destroyed almost to the last man. From this point on, there is no pretending. The U.S. is at war. Osceola doesn't command an army. He doesn't need to. He moves between groups. He talks. He organizes. He tells people when not to fight, just as often as he tells them when to fight. The U.S. calls him a troublemaker, because that's what empires call anyone who can't be bought off. They try intimidation. They try bribery. They try negotiation. When none of that works, they lie. Osceola is captured under a flag of truce by General Jessup, a fucking piece of shit. He was arrested while negotiating, thrown in prison like a criminal instead of a wartime leader. He dies in custody in 1838. The United States thinks this will end the war. It does the complete opposite. Osceola's death doesn't break resistance. It decentralizes it. And it ends up creating almost a supernatural fighting force. They were like ghosts. Leadership shifts to men like Kowakuchi, who don't care about symbolism or speeches. He cares about logistics, food, movement, distance. He understands something the U.S. Army still doesn't know to this day. You don't need to defeat an occupying force. You just need to make staying unbearable. And the Seminole fought using small unit tactics, and it was massively effective. It was a very fluid war. Constant relocation, no permanent camps, no supply stockpiles the army can seize. Families move with fighters. Fighters protect families. The line between civilian and combatant is deliberately blurred because survival requires it. Black Seminoles are critical here. They understand American patrol behavior. They understand pursuit. They understand what capture means. The U.S. knows this too, which is why captured Black Seminoles are often separated and quietly handed over to slave claimants. No trial, no investigation, just paperwork and chains. And this isn't collateral damage. This is the point. The Army bleeds without losing battles. The U.S. may win skirmishes. It might win territory on maps. And it may win the headlines. But it loses men to disease, exhaustion, heat, jungle rot. Florida eats armies alive. Zachary Taylor fights at Lake Okeechobee and claims victory. He loses men. The Seminole withdraw when they want, and Taylor gets promoted. That's a pattern in the United States. The war drags on year after year because the U.S. refuses to accept the answer. There is no clean end. Kind of like Afghanistan. By the 1850s, the strategy changes again. Not because it worked, because the United States is tired. The Third Seminole War isn't about fighting warriors. It's about hunting families, burning crops, destroying food sources, capturing women and children to force surrenders. And this is how the U.S. finishes wars it can't win outright.
I'm Private Eli Morgan, 4th Infantry. Florida smells like shite. My goddamn uniform never dries. Half my unit is sick. We don't see the enemy most days. We march, and fucking march. When we do find people, they're not soldiers. It's women cooking for kids, and old men who don't speak English. The officer says they're hostile anyway. I stopped asking questions after the 3rd village burned. I never should have joined this bloody army.
Private Eli Morgan represented the sentiment of all the U.S. troops. They didn't want to fucking be here.
My name is not written anywhere you will read. They came before sunrise, dogs first, then men. We ran. My sister fell into the water and did not get back up. I had no time to mourn. I took her child and kept moving. They burned the fields, took the corn, shot the pigs. They told us we were going west. I knew what that meant for the black families traveling with us. Some of us ran deeper south. Some of us let ourselves be taken because the children were too tired to run.
By the 1850s, the U.S. stops pretending this is a war and starts treating it like pest control. Most Americans think the Seminole problem is solved. Newspapers say Florida is pacified. Politicians say removal worked. Generals want promotions, and settlers want land. The U.S. didn't win. It just ran out of patience. The Third Seminole War is not about conquest. It's about finishing paperwork with guns. The Army's goal is no longer defeating an enemy force. It is locating families, burning camps, forcing movement, capturing leaders one by one, breaking supply chains, destroying the enemy morale. This is counterinsurgency before the word exists. There were no big battles, no heroic charges, no decisive victories, just patrols and heat that cooks you alive, just soldiers hunting smoke trails, just night raids on sleeping camps. And when they find Seminole families, the order is clear. Take them west. Doesn't matter if they signed a treaty. It doesn't matter if they fought. It doesn't matter if they're children. By now, the United States understands something it never wants to say out loud. The Seminole resistance works because of Black Seminoles. They scout, they fight, they negotiate. They also represent a nightmare scenario. Free black people who know how to fight and refuse to be owned. So the U.S. makes a quiet decision. Separate them. Black Seminoles captured during removals are often claimed by Southern slaveholders. Paperwork magically appears, ownership is asserted, and their freedom evaporates. It wasn't an accident. It was policy without a memo. Some Black Seminoles escape south to the Bahamas. Some go west and fight legal battles for decades. Some disappear from the record entirely. By 1858, the U.S. declares victory. Around 3,000 Seminoles have been removed west. A few hundred remain hidden in the Everglades. The Army leaves. Settlers move in. Florida becomes American, and the story gets buried. Because admitting the truth would require admitting this. The U.S. tried to erase people and failed. The Seminole who remain in Florida don't sign documents. They don't ask permission. They simply stay. They rebuild quietly. They avoid outsiders, and they survive. Over generations, they reorganize politically. Eventually, they form the Seminole Tribe of Florida and the Miccosukee Tribe. They assert sovereignty. They take advantage of the few tools available in the modern U.S. system. The Seminole never signed a peace treaty with the U.S. Just let that marinate for a second.
They say the war is over. No one told us, or the swamp. We stayed because leaving meant death. They left because staying meant humiliation. They say they won, but they had to stop trying to kill us to do it. Fucking pussies.
You ever wonder why they don't teach this in schools? Because it breaks the myth. It shows that expansion was not destiny. It shows treaties were tools, not agreements. And it shows guerrilla warfare worked. And it shows that the U.S. military has been repeating the same mistakes for 200 years. Florida was Vietnam before Vietnam. It was Afghanistan before Afghanistan. Overconfidence, ignorant of the terrain, ignorant of the culture, brutality justified as order. The Seminole Wars aren't forgotten because they're boring. They're forgotten because they're inconvenient. They prove that freedom seekers built sanctuaries before the United States ever promised liberty to anyone. They prove that removal was ethnic cleansing with better branding. And it also proves that sometimes the most powerful army in the world loses. The swamp didn't forget, and neither should you. The U.S. spent decades, fortunes, and thousands of lives trying to conquer Florida. And they still had to pretend that they won. Take care. Be safe. Fuck ICE. One love. Happy 2026. You might be wondering, how can you say one love and then fuck ICE in the same sentence? Because the tactics that ICE uses are inhumane. The way they keep people locked up is inhumane. Using tear gas on protesters because they don't like what you're doing is illegal. I saw one video where an ICE officer launched tear gas into a fucking playground. This was in LA, of course, back during the summer. So yeah, fuck ICE. They're fucking trash.